Welcome back. In a significant cultural victory for India, the Netherlands has formally returned the priceless 11th century Anaimangalam Copper Plates, also known as the Leiden plates, to India, coinciding with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ongoing visit to the country. Today we discuss a repatriation that marks a major milestone in India's efforts to reclaim its historical treasures taken during the colonial periods. These copper plates are widely regarded as a crown jewel of Tamil epigraphy. They consist of 21 large and 3 small copper sheets weighing nearly 30 kilograms, bound together by a massive circular copper ring bearing the royal seal of the Chola Emperor. The inscriptions, partly in Sanskrit and partly in Tamil, are among the most detailed and historically valuable records surviving from the Chola dynasty. The plates date back to the reign of Emperor Rajaraja Chola I and were later formally engraved and issued by his son Rajendra Chola I. They record a generous land grant of the village of Anaimangalam near Nagapattinam to the Chudamani Vihara, a prominent Buddhist monastery built by the Sri Mara Vijayatunga Varman, the ruler of the Sri Vijaya kingdom in present-day Indonesia and Malaysia. This document highlights the extraordinary maritime trade networks, diplomatic relations and religious pluralism of the Chola-Era. A Shaivite Hindu king generously supporting a Buddhist institution reflects the inclusive cultural ethos of medieval South India. Historians consider these plates invaluable because they offer rare insights into Chola administration, taxation systems, land revenue policies, and deep cultural connections between South India and Southeast Asia. They also mention how Chinese pilgrims and Buddhist scholars like Atisa traveled through these networks. The plates gained further popularity through their mention in Kalki's famous Tamil novel Ponniyin Selvan. During the 18th century, when the Dutch East India Company controlled parts of the Coromandelam coast, the plates were acquired by a Dutch official, possibly through a Christian missionary. They eventually entered the collection of Leiden University in 1862 and remained there for over 160 years, studied mainly by researchers. India had been pursuing their return through sustained diplomatic efforts for years now. The breakthrough came after the Netherlands adopted a progressive restitution policy for colonial-era artifacts in 2022. Detailed provenance researched by Dutch authorities and Leiden University confirmed the plates should be returned to their country of origin. The formal handover happened this week, timed symbolically with PM Modi's visit. The ties between India and the Netherlands go back more than 400 years. Dutch traders from Dutch East India Company arrived in India around 1605 and established trading posts in Pulicat, Surat and Chinsura, while they competed with the Portuguese and British. Their presence lasted until the early 19th century. Modern diplomatic relations were established in 1947 after India's independence, and in recent decades, the relationship has transformed into a strong economic and strategic partnership. The Netherlands is one of India's top investors in Europe, and bilateral trade currently stands at around $28 billion, with India enjoying a healthy surplus. Key areas of cooperation include semiconductors, especially with Dutch giant ASML, green hydrogen, clean energy, water management, agriculture, defense, and high technology. The Netherlands serves as a major gateway for Indian exports into Europe. India primarily exports petroleum products, pharmaceuticals, telecom instruments, organic chemicals, engineering goods, apparel, and electronics to the country. In return, India imports electronic components, machinery, medical instruments, vegetable oils, and plastic raw materials. Beyond goods, there is substantial service trade, particularly in software and consulting. The Netherlands also ranks as the 4th largest investor in India, with cumulative FDI exceeding $6.7 billion. Prime Minister Modi's current visit aims to further elevate this relationship into a full strategic partnership, building on historical trade routes into modern collaboration in innovation and sustainability. We'll talk about this and much more with our guests. Joining us on the platform at this point in time is Mr. Lalit Mishra, author and historian. Mr. Hindol Sen Gupta, historian, also joins us on the broadcast. Ambassador Suresh Goyal, former diplomat, is with us on the show as well. And last but not the least, Professor Karori Singh, foreign affairs expert, is joining us on the program as well. Hindol, I'll begin with you. Well, it's a significant move, and it's one of many that India has been able to attribute for the past decade or so. Of course, it's always a good gesture in diplomacy when you realize that there's stuff that you have that doesn't belong to you, and nothing can improve a strategic relationship between two mature nations like returning artifacts which originally belonged to India. What do you make of this gesture, for the lack of a better word?
Thanks. I think this is part of an ongoing process around the world, and certainly with India, of countries around the world, especially Western nations, erstwhile colonies, being pushed to return invaluable artifacts to countries across Asia and Africa from where they were taken. Now, of course, the narrative often is that they were taken in exchange and trade, they were collected, but often there is a power imbalance there is coercion involved. We all know that. I think this is a good move. The Netherlands has done the right thing by returning these invaluable plates to India. This will only accelerate. There is so much Indian artifact that has been taken away from India that it's almost incalculable. I think over the years, governments have to keep pushing until all of it comes back to India. A rising power like India cannot really leave its invaluable artifacts in the hands of foreigners. That makes no sense. So I think this is a very valuable process, and the global climate towards this kind of restitution has also grown over the years. There is a lot of pressure on foreign governments, Western governments, to return these invaluable treasures, not just to India, but to countries in Africa and other parts of the world. I want to make one more very important point. There has been a narrative going on in India, at least for the last 10 years, maybe more, that somehow Buddhism was forcefully wiped out by Hindu rulers in India. It's completely false. And these plates once again highlight that the very powerful, the all-powerful Cholas too, were accommodative, inclusive, and made space for other faiths to not only exist, but indeed to thrive. This needs to be highlighted, underlined, because this is a very false narrative. In fact, this narrative that India was trying to wipe out Buddhism will grow as China tries to take control of global Buddhism. India must push back very strongly, and these plates, the story that it depicts, you also mentioned their appearance in Ponniyin Selvan, very important popular culture historical texts from Tamil Nadu. These plates will really underline the fact that India had a really inclusive, even the most powerful Hindu kingdoms had very inclusive ecosystems under them. And this is a very, very important point to highlight.
Fair enough. Ambassador Goel, it's an important point to highlight, and this is also a part of an ongoing process that India has been extremely aggressive about. How has this helped, some of these former colonies to get closer to India, to basically right the wrongs of the past?
Thank you very much, Vineet. And I listened to Professor Muttara quite carefully. He has made several points, which I think I would like to respond to if we had time. But unfortunately, for the lack of time, let me limit myself to very, very few really here. Number one, first of all, I must congratulate the government of India for getting these relics back from the Netherlands. It's always good to really have this kind of a cooperation with other countries when we begin to get our historical memorabilia, historical legacy back from the countries which were actually the colonial powers before, or they acquired those historical things through other means. In fact, a lot of stuff that we have in the Victorian Albert was acquired not by the British, but it went there through many other people who illegally acquired them from India. There are two or three things here. I wanted to react to Buddhism Bengal also, but I'll come to that in a while. I wonder if how many of you have gone to see the state of museum in India and how many of this precious legacy of India is kept. we don't have space. And you know the museum in Kolkata, Indian Museum, they're in the basement. Nobody even takes care of them. They are actually degrading there. So I'm suggesting that there are two ways to look after our legacy. One is get them back to India and we don't have a place to keep them and let them for the degree. I don't think that's really worth it. Unless we can really put them in a proper place that people can come and see. But we have a lot of it. Also important is that these these relics become part of our historical connection. Vinith, you talked about the historical connection between Palghat, the Dutch East India Company came here, they had to leave, etc., etc. They acquired these things. You know, this history of relationship between India and these colonial powers, also these are part of that. Now, like D&A has established a special India room where all these things are kept. And when people go to visit the museum, they can see them and then there can be a study of how. And in fact, many of the Indian scholars prefer to go to London to see these historical documents, the historical past, rather than in India because they can't have access yet. And they go there, they study them, and they become a symbol of how we have been close together. The only thing is that they must be really focused on an India connection. And there are many countries where they're doing it. I think that means just like yoga. Yoga as an India connection, have an India room where you keep these. That is number one. Number two, we need Buddhism. Buddhism, I agree that Buddhism is a very important heritage. We share not only with India Pacific, not only with Southeast Asia, but with a large part of the world, including in Africa. The problem is that when we want to see what China is doing as a global Buddhist congregation or global Buddhism, we react to what China began to do in 2010. And we began to have a global Buddhist congregation in India itself to illustrate and to tell China that we are the country where Buddhism originated. So we are the rightful owners, so to say, of Buddhist traditions. But we have lost all of our manuscripts. All of our manuscripts are not here. They're in China, in Tibet, or they're in Thailand. And whatever we had, they have again been destroyed. So unless we are able to build up on this repository of, like Nalanda University was supposed to become a repository of the knowledge on Buddhism. Unfortunately, it has become now a multi-purpose university. But we need to conserve Buddhism as a precious heritage of India again and a legacy of India to the world through the studies, through research with the universities and the books that we had earlier, which we have lost. Vinith, thank you very much. I think I've spoken a lot today.
Right, sir, but you've made some solid points as well. Mr. Lalit Mishra, author and historian, also with us on the program. Mr. Mishra, your observations of this process that the Indian government has started, it's been very, very successful. But what more can be done, to educate, not only the world, but Indians in India about the rich legacy through these artifacts, which is scattered all over the world?
The one thing that we have forgotten that in the ancient age we were the Vishwagurus. Why I'm saying the Vishwaguru? Because entire world has learned from us, and particularly one European language, which is called the Indo-European language. It has got the highest borrowing words from the Sanskrit, and Sanskrit has contributed to our regional languages, the many dialects from us, from here, and a lot of science, lot of knowledge is still lies there unexplored. And there is no program, no mission is going on within India, either from the private or the government institutions. So to discover what we have gifted or given to the Indo-European languages and that heritage. That was the first thing. If that is there, suppose I tell you here in India we are having the summer. And the word for this summer in our language, the Sanskrit language, is gharma. Gharma, Gharma, and the Gharma becomes thermology, the thermal power, so gharm and therm are the cognates to each other, but our students, our people, our journalists, our scholars do not know much about this, and then the thermal becomes scientific, and the gharma, in the Sanskrit, becomes obsolete, of no significant. So this is what is there. We need to spread the knowledge that we have retained in our scriptures. And as before me, the speaker was saying about the Buddhism. So this particular copper plate, which has been returned by the Netherlands government to government of India, it is all about the the donation that he made to a Buddhist vihara. So a Hindu king was, making a grant to a Buddhist vihara. That is what the story about this particular grant, and it leads to our national integrity. Also, the liberal nature of our culture, our kings, whether they were fighting the wars, but they were also maintaining a particular great value in Indian great value system which they have followed. So this is telling us about this thing. As of now, since Prime Minister Modi has come to the power, around 36 Chola Empire's artifacts have been, returned from center to the government of Tamil Nadu, and this is the Tamil Nadu government which and the politicians which talks about the dismantling of Hindutva. So it is happening because the history tells us tells us against what is happening in the politics. After Prime Minister Modi has come, the process has been streamlined, and we know around just this year, say 2026, up to 2026, around 657 stolen or the smuggled artifacts have been returned from alone USA. 1100 crore rupees to 1200 crore rupees, something is the assessment. So government is working very rapidly in a big way, but what can be done, the discovery of the artifacts which are lying in different countries, since so that discovery is still not streamlined. It depends on, if somebody complains, the complaints based system is still the colonial age system is still in functioning. Here we have streamlined. We should computerize the process. You take the help of the AI, so that, and also we should have a repository of every country. We have the cultural relations, what is lying there, what is not lying there. I tell you, not only the copper plates or the statues, but also the manuscripts. Lot of manuscripts are still buried in Germany, in USA, in London. Even Kohinoor has not yet returned to the India, and lot of Sanskrit manuscripts, Persian manuscripts which were written in India, and Buddhist manuscripts, all manuscripts are lying. You will get surprised to know from me that the Ramayana, which was composed in Mewar, that Ramayana's copyrights are still with the British Library. How British Library? Why British Library will have the copyrights and the ownership on the Ramayana which is written in the Mewar, or the Ramayana which was prepared by Maharani Lakshmi Bai, that has been stolen twice in the last 10 years. 10 years period. Auctions notices has been coming, and our Indian High Commission did take no notice of that. So the thing is that sense, that kind of the awareness
Okay,
and the
you've made some
sensitivity we do
important
not
points.
have.
Let me also rope in Professor Singh into this conversation. Professor Singh, valid points made. Of course, whatever the government has done is commendable, but the fact of the matter is that the United Kingdom still has the Kohinoor. They still have a number of artifacts and manuscripts which ideally and for the sake of propriety should be back with India.
You see, Vinith, quite often we talk in the club room gossip, what is British in the British Museum. Most of the articles in the British Museum are stolen from the colonies, and British Museum has been enriched through the stolen items. So in this way, the colonial rulers, not only the Dutch or the British, but even Portuguese and even French, for that matter, they took so many items, not only items, but they plundered what in political sense we talk about the colonial imperial orientation, and most of the countries are talking about the reparation and at least atonement. But beyond that, how they have plundered the culture and the art of these colonies, because most of the colonies are very rich in art and culture comparing with the European countries. So there is two type of movement of cultural artifacts, and the other items are art and the cultural symbols outside India, went out to India. One is the colonial rulers plundered they took to their home country. And the second one is some religious leaders and preachers, they migrated to other countries like China or Thailand or some other countries, for that matter even to Sri Lanka from India. So they took some of the religious symbols, texts, and some of the religious books, and so many things they took to these countries. So they are lying in these countries, not only one item, that is the inscription or the copper plates, but there are large number or even thousands of items or artifacts might be there in different countries, not only in Netherlands, in Britain, maybe in France, in Portugal, maybe. You see that, and the Indian government is aware right from the beginning, I think about decades back. You see the Portuguese government, not exactly government, the Gulbenkian Foundation of Portugal, they wanted to celebrate 500 years of Portuguese rule in Asia in Goa. And our government at that point of time did not allow them to glorify Portuguese rule in Asia. So the governments are aware, but still the colonial narratives are being created by the colonial masters, and they are making them popular by glorifying their rule. That their rule has changed their society, they have civilized these societies, and that type of narratives are also being created. So it's not only one front, but there are so many fronts beneath where our intellectual community and the political leadership and administrative authorities must fight so many battles at, not only with the colonial rulers, but even with bringing back things which has gone to other countries, even in Asia. So it's then a long project, it's not the one stop project. So I think the present government is taking cognizance of all these things. So it's not the plunder of the wealth, the cultural wealth, the religious wealth, the artistic wealth, so many things have been taken away. So how can we bring them back through a peaceful manner, not through confrontation and conflict? And I think the governments in the European countries or even in our Asian part, they will collaborate and cooperate with the government of India to hand over these items to India, and India will maintain and they will be exhibited for the masses in the society, so they can understand the roots of Indian culture, how glorious and rich Indian culture and arts were.
All right, fair enough, sir. Fair enough, sir. We've run out of time, but I appreciate the message that has come out of this conversation. Thank you, everyone, for joining this conversation. We'll take a break.